starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Sean Kelly.
I'm Simon Blanford.
And we wish it was the 90s.
Yeah, we wish it was.
We sure do.
So welcome back. We are on to episode 3 of our emotional journey through Final Fantasy VII. Currently, we're in the throes of the Pursuit of Sephiroth section of the game. At this point of the game, you're following around rumours of this man in a black cape. But you're not the only one. Shinra have dispatched the Turks to bring him in as you run into those high ranking officers at most high interest locations in your pursuit. So I think we left off last time leaving Midgar onto the world map. I would ask Simon to comment on that, but I'm sure we'll just hear about, for the third straight podcast, about the vastness of the of the game or the world map. But I think
for sure.
I think we start by heading off to Kalm, which is a short walk from Midgar, and this is extremely confusing for me. Probably because I skipped through a lot of the dialogue when I played earlier. But this is probably why I don't understand a lot of Cloud's backstory. But I think this part's called Cloud's Past, am I right?
Yeah, and you get a really, really nice Barrett's like, I don't really know what's going on here. Cloud, explain everything that's happened so far. And you just get a nice little exposition dump from Cloud.
Prior to going into the inn and talking to your party, I believe you are able to pretty much raid Kalm, which is all the village people in Kalm are happy for you to go into their houses and take their treasure.
Unbelievable.
Which is a recurring theme throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you earlier, I mean, that it's got the most trusting people in the land, doesn't it? You know, this is possibly the end of their world and civil war, and there's troops everywhere and uncertainty. You just walk into anybody's house and steal their most valued possessions, and they don't bat an eyelid. Here
comes a man with a giant sword, a giant man with a gun for an arm, and a talking cat dog. And you're like, mate, please take my last elixir.
I think one's got their dog like tied up in a room and you just let it out.
Yeah, you do.
So yeah, you get asked by Barrett as Cloud to explain what's going on, and I don't know how much detail to actually go into of the story, but I'll do my best. But basically, Cloud talks about the time where he says, I wanted to be like Sephiroth, so I joined Soldier. And I think it takes you back 5 years to when he was 16. And he's very excited to be on this mission with Sephiroth, and you're headed to Nibelheim, to the reactor at Nibelheim, to take on some monsters or monster, or Sephiroth seems very vacant. He's not that keen on Cloud, to be honest. What are some key points? You run into Tifa in Nibelheim.
Yep.
Tifa's dad is slain by Sephiroth.
Slain.
Yes.
Murdered.
And Cloud
is this you or is it not till you go there? But do they talk about Tifa's like martial arts trainer is sort of
Zangan or something.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of understanding of why she's good at fighting. He might come in a bit later.
Makes some outrageous brags about how many students he's got around the world or something. 100 plus students around the world. I don't know how you do it when don't seem to be internet or anything like that. But anyway, he's very, very good trainer.
And the world is so vast, so it's very hard.
And it appears as though there's only like one or two aircrafts.
So you go. So Tifa becomes your guide. So you, Sephiroth, and a couple of Shinra grunts go to Mount Nebel, to the Mako reactor. You come across Genova, which I'm still very puzzled by.
I think my grasp on Genova is the best it's ever been, but I don't think that's because of what I learnt on this mission.
Well, the thing that I found interesting while the story was being told is Tifa's reactions to the story are really like she doesn't really engage in Cloud's story,
She's
even though she was
something, or she knows something more.
Even though she was there, obviously, but she has nothing to say or add to the story.
No. Kudos to her for wearing a phenomenal tour guide hat, though. She looks I reckon that's probably a Dryzerbone.
She's yes. So she doesn't really want to be involved in the story. And Cloud continues on. Basically, what it ends up is you go into the, I think Sephiroth, he goes into the mansion that's in Nibelheim.
The Shinra mansion.
And he wants to find out more about his life or his upbringing.
Can I just, before you go, because you go out to the reactor first, right? And then he goes back to the mansion. Is that how it works?
I think so.
And when you go out, even though it's a flashback, when you go out to the mountain, you get to engage in fights. And it's you and Sephiroth. You can't control him. You routinely die. And he's just taking ridiculous damage off the enemies, off the monsters.
I only recall one fight that I had.
I only recall one as well.
With a big dragon. When you're on the truck.
Right. Maybe it's just the one.
I've got here, you have 140 HP. And he's level bloody 60 or something at this point. You die, and then he beats it in one hit.
He just talks about, doesn't Cloud just talk about how powerful Sephiroth is really at that point, really, I think.
He's fawning over him, right? Like he loves him at this point. But I think he tells Cloud basically, like, don't come down here when he's in the mansion down in the basement. He's finding out about, he says things like, was I one of the, like, Hojo's monsters? Was I one of these monsters too? Seems like he's going completely insane.
He reads for about 20 years, seemingly.
Lots of books down there.
A lot of books down there.
Yeah. It's a real turning point for him, right?
It's quite cool, like how dark it is. I think it's like especially dark, and that whole real arrogance from the game. I feel like, and that whole storytelling section, because I think they know that people have really no idea what's going on. Still, at that point, it's like it was almost like watching Lost. They knew that we didn't really know what was going on, but they knew we were hooked. We'd just keep watching, season 2, season 1 type time.
Yeah. And
kind of like that, really. They know you're hooked at that point and almost intentionally confuse you.
Yeah. I guess the gist of what you get out of this is that Cloud and Sephiroth and a couple of grunts go to Nibelheim 5 years ago, go into the reactor. Sephiroth goes to the mansion, discovers some secrets of the past that upset him. Is he an experiment? I think he comes out of this believing that Genova is his mother.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, and he kind of maintains that, right? He believes he's the child of Genova, and believes that Genova was supposed to, I don't know, destroy the world or get rid of what's wrong with the world or start fresh or something like that. And so he's like, well, ultimately he's a bit of a mummy's boy.
I don't know how anyone can look at anything that looks like Genova and decide that that's their mother. Because it's it's
But
no
does
good when you
he
see.
thinks that she's his mother via some sort of genetic, like test tube type scenario, right?
Genetic surrogacy almost is pretty
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah, I think it's deliberately unclear on Sethros' origins at this point.
Yeah.
But I think the main idea that we're supposed to walk out of is that Cloud went there, and was part of the sort of when Sethroth loses it, burns the town down, and yeah.
After he's been in the dungeon or whatever in the mansion, he goes back to Mount Nebel, right?
Yeah, because that's where that sort of final confrontation happens of the flashback.
And he strikes. Tifa tries to cut him down.
Yeah, and he. I mean, it looks like it probably should have killed her.
Don't know how it didn't.
Yeah.
And then Cloud stabs Sephiroth.
Oh, does he? Does it just like go black or?
It's hard to know with the multiple flashbacks that happen throughout the game to this particular moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then it fades to Barrett being confused by the story and storming out of the inn.
Good side note to this flashback. You do get to do a little bit of running around Nibelheim as Cloud. And if you go into Tifa's house, you can A, play her piano, which is really good for later, and B, look in her panty drawer.
What does it say?
So it literally cuts to like the black screen again, and Tifa's like, "Did you actually do that?" And he's like, yeah.
Since I'm not carrying Tifa on my travels, even at that point, I was not looking in her panty drawer.
You've got to play the piano on a few occasions to unlock Tifa's. It's either her ultimate weapon or her ultimate limit break.
I think it's her final limit break from memory, but
I think it is because it's like a note from her former trainer of like some sort of teaching or something.
The trainer, he never ceases to amaze me, that guy.
Well, he's trained a lot of people.
Barrett storms out. Tifa is decidedly silent. And I think it's actually quite important that when you mention Nibelheim is on fire, because then when you visit it later, we'll get to that when we get to it, but it's completely rebuilt. And Barrett is like banging on about how the story wasn't right.
And none of the townspeople know anything about the fire.
No.
We'll get to that. Right, from Kalm, you head over to the Chocobo Ranch. I think I'm going to say Chocobo.
Okay.
Where little Billy extorts you. Or a Chocobo lure and some greens. 2,000 gil or something, which is a heck of a lot at that time of the game.
Yeah, a lot of money at that point in the game,
Yeah.
It's a real ridiculous transition, from the darkness of the previous scenes to the Chocobo Ranch. It's this massive, massive contrast. You go.
Yeah. It's got that real like I don't know, happy-go-lucky soundtrack and
that dance that you can make them do, that where you make their quawk, it like lasts about as long as the Sri Lankan national anthem.
And they always say "wak."
Yeah. I think if you get that dance right, you get something, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely do. I can't remember what it is, but it's worth getting.
Might be elemental.
Yeah, no, if you talk to one of them, you get a summon, like the Choco Mog summon.
Oh, Choco Mog.
You don't get that at that time though.
Yeah, if you talk to a certain one, he spits.
I think
it
you
out,
do because it's the first one you get.
So you can get that. So is that the first summon in the game?
Yeah,
you can get. There you go.
How disappointing.
I always thought that Shiver was the first one that you got in the game, but we'll talk about that soon.
The walkthroughs tell me it's good to have that Chocomog equipped with Elemental on your weapon. There's lots of enemies are weak to wind, which is that's what Chocomog is. The terrible look at that. It's the worst summon though in terms of its optics. Like all these cool as graphics, and then that one is just really disappointing. Slapstick almost.
Yeah, there are those little silly things in this game that can remove you from it at times, and that's one of them.
It reminds me of the like when someone got a duck in like 1994 and on TV, and that like, duck with a hat backwards walking out off the screen, like it's really, really amateurish.
Making Daffy Duck sounds, Donald Duck sounds.
So we go. You have to get a Chocobo. I don't actually know if you have to. I think you probably get across somehow without the Chocobo.
So if you wait till it's on the other side, you can gap it down one side of the marsh and maybe make it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I'll tell you what's interesting, as I've explained before, the game for me has basically a Superman mode where you constantly have limit breaks. So I saved it, and then I was like, I'm just curious to see how I go against the Zolom here. Absolutely smoked me on Superman mode. Just not enough HP.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It was a terrifying moment. This is the first time I got game over because I mistakenly thought that once you got the Chocobo, you could just like dance over it.
Snake.
So I danced over it, and then got a hell of a fright when the dun 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 came up, and first I actually thought later on was my first game over. Now I recall that was definitely my first game over.
So the it's a really cool cutscene when you get across the marshes.
Oh, of the dead Zolom.
And somehow the Midgar Zolom is now impaled on a stick.
I'm assuming there's just more than one.
Oh, it's another real glitch. It's called the definite article, the Midgar Zolom. But should be clearly Zoloms, shouldn't it?
That leads you into the Mithril Mines, which really there's not a lot going on in there apart from
getting lost.
Yeah, easy to get lost.
Yeah.
And you run into the dynamic trio of Rude, Sing, and Elena.
Surely Eleanor. Surely Sing. Surely it's a silent T.
Sing is definitely sung.
Sung.
Look, this is the guy that didn't know
I'll back you, Sean.
I may or may not have watched a little pronunciation video on YouTube.
So it's Rude, Eleanor, and Sung. That's what it'll be. I thought it was an interesting dynamic between them. Eleanor obviously is new. Sung is the...
he's the big guy?
Yeah, well, probably not the biggest, but...
no.
He definitely rules over Rude.
I feel like he's the leader of the Turks.
Yeah. And he's like, he acts real superior to them.
I feel like Rude, even though Reno's not there, Rude, Reno, and Eleanor are like colleagues, and Sung's like their boss. But because Eleanor's the newbie, she gets a bit of a hard time.
Yeah. And she's like gung-ho. She's ready to get into it.
Yeah, and runs her mouth too much.
I thought, I'm probably reading into it too much. I thought there was a good line from Eleanor. She says something like, our job is to try and stop you every step of the way. Or wait a minute, is it the other way around? You're the ones getting in our way. I wasn't sure if it was like an intentional shout out to how pointless the Turks end up being, but because the first few times you meet them, you're just like, oh man, this is big, this is huge, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, these guys again,
Yeah, I was going to save my Turks chat for Vincent, but but I've got thoughts on the Turks.
Save it for Vincent, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you're enjoying having him in your party.
Shut up.
So they, I think Eleanor actually lets slip that Sephiroth or the is headed for Junon.
You know it because it's in a different coloured font.
That's the whole point of the Turks, right? They just you just go to places, then they tell you where Sephiroth's going, basically.
Thank you, the Turks.
Yeah, they're good buggers.
As Sean mentioned, when you see the light blue font, you know that's where you need to head.
But you don't always have to go there straight away, because although there is urgency in what we're doing, the game will wait for you.
As you well know, Bob.
It's a good segue, because there are two things that you can do prior to Junon, and I only did one of them because I really wanted Yuffie in my party as soon as possible.
I'm going to have to get you to start saying Yuffie.
No, I think I'm just going to call her
YouTube
Yuffie, just like Garrus.
Fair enough. I actually watched a little bit of the Yuffie Intergrade for the remake or whatever to confirm that name. Yuffie.
Oh, it is Yuffie.
It's Yuffie.
Oh no, she's Yuffie to me.
Yeah, fair enough. She was for me too until about a month ago.
So you have to get Yuffie by going into tall grass, a la Pokemon.
Various forests.
And I had to use a walkthrough to figure out how to, because you got to say the right things. I don't know whether if you say the wrong things, you definitely can't get her.
Oh,
I think if you say the wrong things, you can still run into her again.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but also, who's doing that without a walkthrough?
Exactly.
It's like 4 different things you have to choose. For like 4 different things you have to say at different times.
And she's doing that stupid punching thing in different angles.
The only thing I like is you kind of get to mug her off a bit.
Well, I tell you what, as great as I've enjoyed playing with her so far, her dialogue is just terrible. Just terrible. Brings nothing to the game in that respect.
Yeah, I've spent quite a lot of time with her as well, because as you guys know, I love a grind, and I've got her limit 4 level break, but don't get me started on Wu Tai.
You can also go to Fort Condor, which I did not. I don't know about you two.
I definitely went to Fort Condor.
Yeah, I did. I understand I didn't do as much as Bob. I went there, listened to their stories, felt really sad for them. Was about to do the battle and realized how much the battle would have cost in old Gil, and then just gave them a token 4,000 Gil and then just left, and just to help their imaginary war effort as it was going on when I left the place. So yeah, didn't do Fort Condor.
So did you have to give them 4,000 gil to leave?
No. He just said, "Oh, anything will help our cause," or something, something along those lines. So I just gave money and then just didn't do the battle.
He's really down on his luck, that guy.
I did the battle, and won.
It's a great effort at this point.
And then I went to Junon, and I left Junon, went back and did another battle.
Oh, really?
Just for the lols, or
I've done like 5 or 6 Fort Condors.
Because you do get stuff, you get goods.
Yeah, you get good prizes.
Good tower defense game.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. When you've got heaps of money, it's easy because you can just smother and put catapults up and stuff like that. And it does get progressively harder. So I quite like it. But definitely need it to be on the 3 times speed mode.
Yeah, it's so slow.
So you've slain a few beasts and wyverns.
Yeah. With my attackers and fighters.
So do you call it Junon? Is it Junon, not Junon?
Oh, mate. I only did names. I didn't do place pronunciation.
The Junon Harbour, you run into Priscilla,
Oh,
and she's real annoying.
yep.
And you fight that
Big
massive.
Priscilla fan, me. Big Priscilla fan. You won't hear anything about that from me.
There's that big boss, real scary looking boss down in the harbour, which leads Priscilla to need CPR. And I found it bloody tough to do CPR. Again, the steam controls got me, and I was struggling massively to revive her.
Yeah, I was okay at it with the PlayStation 4 controller.
I remember it being really hard. Well, thinking it was really hard from 20 years ago or whatever. But
I much more struggled with the jumping off the dolphin mini game a little bit later.
oh yeah, that same thing. I found it real easy. I remember when we played it, Sam, when we were kids. I remember it took ages, and I just fluked it, I guess.
I just used a walkthrough.
Nice.
The very unimaginatively named Mr. Dolphin. But prior to meeting Mr. Dolphin, you sleep in that old lady's house.
Yeah, you do.
Unfortunately, there's nothing to steal. But you, like, while you're still asleep, there's like voices. It seems like Cloud's remembering something that's related to the flashback at Kalm. And when he wakes up, he asks Tifa, or Tifa's just there. And he says, when Sephiroth and I went to Nibelheim, you were there too. So did he not know that Tifa was there in the first flashback?
Definitely have no idea.
Yeah. That's a great question.
And she just doesn't answer the question. She just I can't remember.
Yeah, she is. I'm just looking it up.
So she's at this she is recognizing Cloud's mental state at this point, and that's why she's not saying anything. Surely,
I believe that's the idea. That's the defense of her behavior.
she's just if she jumps in and tells him this is not how it actually happened, that he will lose his shit.
I'm just looked at a whole bunch of screenshots from that first flashback, and there's not a one of Tifa.
Oh, really? Oh,
No.
of the first flashback.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously her dad getting cut down, and she definitely.
Yeah. Look, there's I can see her teacher, and those Shinra guards that get cut down to size. But no sign of her at all. You know how she's whenever you have a Nibelheim flashback, you walk through the gates and she's there.
Yeah.
She's not there for this one. So I'm assuming she's not there at all. Oh, no.
There we go.
Look, it says here the story resumes in the morning with Tifa acting as the guide for the Shinra soldiers.
Is it definitely? Anyway.
Yeah, because what I'm looking at is
the crowd's
walkthrough.
reveling in this 5-minute flashback of whether we had any idea what was going on at all.
Yeah, and it culminates with a screenshot of Genova and her weird plated nipple.
I think
she was there in the flashback.
And I think the purpose is for Cloud, for us to realise that Cloud is starting to lose it mentally.
Yeah.
So the poorly named Mr. Dolphin, I won't try and say unimaginatively again, helps you jump onto the tower. Doesn't really help you. You have to pick the exact spot to get him to throw you in the air, which I definitely used a walkthrough. What's that area that you're sneaking into? What would you call that?
Yeah.
It's like a little town almost in itself, because there's obviously people living there.
You're talking about where those streets are and where the march and stuff is.
An old
Yeah.
fishing village, isn't it? Oh, Shinra. Yeah, good. Yeah,
So I think the fishing village is for the plebs,
yeah.
and then that town on top is for Shinra employees.
Yeah.
Which you get a look at. Like I think we talked about this on a previous one. In the remake, you get to do that in Midgar. Go to like the middle class level.
Yeah.
Yep. So they would still be addressing their houses as Junon, but maybe just Upper Junon.
I think it is called Upper Junon,
Oh,
or it's
no.
either Upper Junon or it's Upper Junon.
I think when you first get like tossed up, you see a big aircraft. Is that the Highwind or the Gelnica or something completely different?
I think it's the Highwind.
Okay. I didn't have a good look at it, but I just noticed it was a big aircraft.
I'm pretty sure it's a Highwind because I remember getting pretty excited.
So this is where you walk in basically, and you're accosted by a Shinra grunt who summons you to get ready for this parade that they're having for the new president, Rufus. And you've got to is that where you practice the moves, or do you practice the moves soon?
I think you do some practicing in there. I can't remember if it's the moves or the march or the.
You're about to do a march anyway.
Yeah.
It's at this point. It's at this point of the game where the Junon marching music starts to drive me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, you got to be muting that. I definitely muted a lot of there. It's quite an enjoyable. I quite enjoyed Upper June. I know it was a nice, different kind of a world. It was good rattling around there with that stray dog hanging about the whole time.
You get to bump into the Turks at the bar.
Yes, you do. Get to pick up some miniature soldiers as well. The Shinra.
Yeah, you get a few mini soldiers.
32.
135th.
I think I checked every room, and I'm hoping these become important later on. They get me some great item, but I don't think they will somehow.
Don't get your hopes up. And then you have to sneak, you go down a little alleyway, and you have to sneak into the line.
Yes.
I fucking butchered this.
The whole idea is to get a good TV rating.
Yeah. And
all I can remember is it starts at 30%, and every time I've done this, I always end up less than 30%. Is there any way of getting better than 30%? Has anyone ever got better at it?
Yeah, I bombed out, and it means nothing, right?
Oh, I think the higher you get, the better you get a reward from.
The reward President. Also comes because you do an audience with the new Shinra
where you do the salute stuff.
You do the salutes, and that's where you get a good prize.
I think both of them are tiered reward wise.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember one time, not this time, I bombed this time, and I was like, "Fuck that! I hate the marching. I'm just moving on." But one time, I kept restarting my PlayStation until I got a good rating, and it was I don't even remember what it was worth to me. And maybe that's why I hate the marching so much. But shit, I hate the marching.
Yeah,
the salute one's all good.
Salute one was easy.
Yeah.
I got 23%. I was pretty happy with that. Because I remember getting 0 one time. I think you've run. I don't know if you've run into High Digger or Hay Digger. Lots of names I don't know how to say.
I think High Digger's right.
High Digger, and he does his laugh, which is just spelt Gya Gya Gya.
It's impossible to know what that sound is. Quah, quah, quah.
It
makes him seem like a dickhead.
I just think it makes him seem incompetent. I think he's seems like a bumbling fool.
He's certainly more menacing in the remake.
Palmer's the bumbling fool.
Palmer is
a bumbling fool.
Can't wait till we get to our Palmer again. Yeah, so there's all sorts of dialogue after the sneaking into line, but then there's you do definitely practice the moves for this one. You have to do
because you get to show off your finishing move.
a military gun moves in front of Rufus, and you get a rating from him, don't you? You can see your rating going up or down, or again, very difficult with the Steam controls.
This one was quite a lot easier.
You know what percent you got?
Oh, 90?
Oh shit, that's good. I think I got 60 here.
I definitely, I got the best, whatever you call it, best prize,
Yeah.
tiered. I got the best one. I can't remember what it was, but
My walkthrough said to not get the best prize, get the second best prize because it's actually the best prize. But my pride would not let me do that.
I think I got the second best prize. I can't remember what it was. Some purple materia. And that leads you on to the boat. You're heading to another continent of this vast, vast area.
oh, vast.
On the boat, you're all dressed as Shinra grunts, which I thought was particularly hilarious for Red 11, who was dancing around like a crab on the poop deck.
Yeah, he's awful at it.
I think you just walk around and talk to all your members until you finally find Barrett, who's just shaking his fist angrily at Heidegger and Rufus.
I just want to point out that Yuffie at this point is feeling seasick and blocking you from getting some materia. Like, fuck off. Get out of the way.
Yeah, that's really annoying. That you have to like go. You have to do something else and then come back, and they're gone.
Yeah, you have to wait for some story progression.
Yeah.
Come on.
Foreshadowing, some might say.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yuffie.
Sean doesn't like Yuffie. I mean, Yuffie. And once you activate, like once you find Barrett shaking his fist angrily, I think then that causes lots of the members of the boat to be slain. And that means you run into... then you can go and get that materia that you spoke of. And you find Sephiroth in the control room or somewhere. He appears from the floor, which I don't understand why he isn't a solid object.
Although we do learn a little bit more about Sephiroth later that might explain that.
And he, again, credence to Cloud's diminishing mental state. Sephiroth just has absolutely no idea who Cloud is.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether it causes a little bit of tension. Barrett was in my party at that point. I can't remember. But he basically says some stuff and then leaves you with Jenova. I think this is your first Jenova battle. Jenova birth.
Doesn't he fight? Doesn't he fight like a finger or something?
It's weird that Sephiroth just keeps throwing his mother into fights with you throughout this game.
Where's he getting these mothers from? Where's he hiding that finger?
He's all knowing. He's all knowing.
I'm now more confused about Jenova than I was at the start of this pod. I thought I had my finger on Genova's finger, but I'm cooked.
And then what do you
feeling like Cloud?
It's quite. I mean, they're always good battles, those ones, though. And then you go Costa del Sol or something, or get on a boat or something. Yeah.
You get. Well, I was just going to say about that. You always get real good battle music with Jenova. You know, it's not your standard battle music. It's not your standard boss battle music. It's like quite spooky.
The music really, after you leave Midgar, the music really ramps up. And there's lots and lots of different soundtracks. Well, not soundtracks. There's lots of different tracks. And it's it is a A+ soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do go to Costa del Sol. I think so. When you get off, Heidegger's definitely in trouble with Rufus. Possibly, not sure why, but he said it's
No, it's
like
because he knows that the Avalanche guys are on the boat.
that's right.
And he's like, how did you let them on the boat? And Heidegger's like, guah, guah, guah.
Go.
Like McGonagall, he wants results. You stupid chief. And yeah. So Costa del Sol's a bit of a dud, really. Apart from the fact that I'm pretty sure Hojo's tanning on the beach. And if you ran into him down there.
He's tanning in the beach in his lab coat.
And he's, I think he
And the
says
chicks
that
are whipping it. They're like, he never takes his lab coat off. This is mint.
he's seeking out Sephiroth, I believe. So he's like surprised and utters that he's heading west.
Oh,
Just giving you some, more details
Yeah.
about where you need to head.
yeah, unusual that it wasn't the Turks dropping those tidbits.
They end up, you go up the mountain, the Mount Coral, and there's the reactor at Coral there, but you don't have anything to do with that yet. You come back to that later, I believe, in the game.
Mm.
I've got here written down, you go on these train tracks, and particularly there's like a bridge part, and there is the worst enemy known to man in the game of Final Fantasy, I reckon.
What, those bomb things?
The red fire thing.
The red fireballs.
The red fire circle.
Yeah.
I hate them.
It's like a ghastly on fire.
Yeah, they're in it. No good can come of those things, eh?
And you get no gil or XP from killing them.
Terrible.
Now, when you get to North Corel, it's evidently Barrett's hometown. It makes
Not a nice homecoming.
not a nice homecoming, but it makes the slums in Midgar look like 5-star hotels.
Nah, I'd prefer to live in North Corel.
Looks like better weather.
Better weather, close proximity to the gold saucer.
Mm.
There's a water well.
Yep.
And a weapons man who I think threatens you to buy something.
Yeah, he does.
But you find out it's not a good homecoming. No one really likes to see Barrett. He's quite sheepish about it, eh?
Yeah, he really doesn't. He doesn't handle the home. I mean, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, when you do find out about his backstory, it does make not as much sense. Like as I think it. I don't think he should feel as bad as he does.
No, you're right.
Yeah, he explains just before they are going to enter the tram to the gold saucer. He explains that the way Coral is all Barrett's fault. So it used to be like a mining town, I believe, that sold their soul to Shinra, and Shinra basically just burned them down. Is that right?
Yeah, they thought it was going to be a great idea. Barrett was into it, but turns out Shinra'd them.
Seemed like everyone was keen for it apart from Dine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, like, Barrett, you can't take it all on your shoulders, mate.
Exactly.
I think North Corel seems like a pretty weird place to have a tram going to and from a luxurious place like the Gold Saucer.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe you could pass that off by saying, well, it never used to be like this. It used to be a thriving mining town. Nonetheless, it's not anymore. Build a new tram. You know?
It's just bizarre. Like,
Well, like, I mean, there's so many questions though, because obviously you need the tram to get to Gold Saucer because it's surrounded by that really dangerous marshland or whatever it is. Why did they build it there? So it was hard to get to?
surely the gold saucer can't be on. It must be on very unsturdy ground. Looking at those marshes, shifting sand.
Yeah.
Hell of a cable car, though. Hell of a cable car.
Yeah, love, and that first ride in is phenomenal.
So good, right? So good. I made a note of that. Just that first ride, just the graphics, everything about it is pretty awesome.
You can hear people cheering, having a great time.
Fireworks.
The gold saucer is not like anything that you've come across in the game so far.
No, it makes the Chocobo Ranch look like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I can't get over Gold Saucer, eh? You think they might shut it down with the later on in the game when things are looking doom and gloomy? No. Get in there and practice your snowboard skills. Go do some virtual boxing.
You can choose when you get in. You can choose who accompanies you to. Are you still looking for? You're still looking for Sephiroth at this point. Yeah, so you're trying to find. You're following around all these rumors about this man in a black cape. I chose Yuffie to accompany me because I was trying to steer well away from going on a date with Eris or Tifa.
Are you going for best bromance?
I was going for best bromance.
Yeah, I definitely chose Barrett.
Could you choose Barrett?
Oh no, who could I? No, you can't choose Barrett.
You don't get to choose who you go on the date with. It's based on like your stats with the characters up until that point.
Might have been Eris then.
You can choose who accompanies you, and I think you can't choose Barrett, but you definitely can choose any of the girls, and I think you can take Red with you.
Are you talking about on the date?
No, this is just to accompany you walking around. Because you're about to run into our favourite character, Kate Sith.
Kate She.
Who already shooting expectations out of the sky. Talking absolute shit when you run into him.
Yeah, it's a him.
Them? Run
It's
into
a him.
them?
I mean, we find out later it's a him.
I was glad I bought Yuffie at this point because Yuffie just said, "He's weird. Don't let him come with us."
Yeah.
I went to Wonder Square at this point just to have a look at some of the games. You mentioned a couple of them already. G-Bike.
Oh no, is G-Bike the one that's like the replay of the Midgar mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, not a huge fan of that one.
No, neither.
Arm Wrestle.
Yeah, that's okay.
Super Dunk's real hard to get the how. I guess you could get the perfect release every time on the basketball shot, but what's the way to get the most GP? You got to get GP to go into the battle square later on.
Yeah, I can't remember. I haven't done much Gold Saucer grinding, which is surprising because historically, sometimes if I'm not feeling like playing, I just go to Gold Saucer for an hour. It's a good dip, but I love a snowboard. That's my favorite.
Honestly, so I did not play a single Gold Saucer game. Not one.
I haven't yet. The only thing I've done so far is Chocobo Racing.
Chocobo Racing, which you kind of have to do at some point, I think, and
not long from now.
Nothing.
Yeah, not long. You will be racing for your life. But once you make it to Battle Square, there's blood everywhere. Shinra grunts are dead, and you meet Dio.
Oh yeah, Dio.
I thought it was Dio, but
who seems to be wearing just a pair of yellow undies.
Hulkamania, baby.
And he pulls what's that guy's name? Don Corneo, and drops you through a hole in the floor. They love their holes in the floor.
Love it.
Yeah. Mad respect to the Don.
Which takes you to Coral Prison.
Which isn't really a prison, it's just a place you can't get out of. I suppose that is a prison in some ways.
Yeah, bizarre prison, I thought.
It looks like a rubbish
Yeah.
dump almost.
Seems like there's people living there.
Yeah, there's a house and stuff.
Yeah, there's a boss.
I guess people in prisons technically live there.
Yeah, but I don't know. It seems odd. It seems more like just a place to be dumped that you can't escape from, as opposed to an actual prison.
Yeah, it's almost like a hot Siberia almost. Like we're not really locking you in here, but the conditions are so terrible on the outside that you're not going to be able to leave.
Yeah. Kind of been like just chucked on an island or something.
Yeah.
And when you go north, there's that like never-ending. You can just like keep going right and right and right, and there's just desert.
Yeah.
For ages and ages and ages. It's like the book Holes. It's like there's no, there's nothing that's keeping you here. You can try and run away if you like, but you won't
You're
make
a
it.
Stanley Yellnuts nut.
So I think Barrett's backstory is probably my favorite.
I agree.
Not including Cloud's.
Probably just because I can understand it, really.
I think that's fair. I don't think it's mine of the side characters, but it's good. It just seems to end so like I just don't really like Dine and his actions, and
I can understand his actions though.
then when his last action is very selfish.
Questionable at best. In the flashback, Coral's on fire, and it's basically tells the story of how both of them lost their arm. That part of the story seems a bit weak to me. How they were clinging on to each other, and the bullets just ran through their hand.
Yeah,
that's like comic book silliness, so that your arch rival can have the same powers as you.
So Dine, you end up going to some junkyard where Dine is in an absolute wreck. An emotional scene with Barrett and Dine.
It is.
And Barrett's starts real abrasive. And Dine, obviously it comes out here that Marlene is Dine's daughter. And if Dine only knew what Barrett has been doing with Marlene, and she's bloody running a bar still.
Barrett leaves that part out, eh?
Oh no, she's living with Elmira. I wonder if she does like day shifts at the bar while she's living with Elmira.
Got to pay the bills.
Emotional scene, and Barrett basically, you just have to have a one-on-one battle with Dine.
Yeah.
How does it end, Sean? Does he just
He's like, come back with me, and he just he kills himself. He can't live with what he's done or whatever, and
jumps off the cliff.
Yeah. It's like, you just found out your daughter's alive, mate.
Yeah, I think he says some rubbish about how he's got too much blood on his hands to ever hold her again or something.
Who does he think he is? Lady Macbeth?
Well, exactly, Sean. But I did on the whole like that. It made more sense than some for my pea-sized brain, so I quite enjoyed that sort of backstory.
So who's your favourite backstory then, Sean?
Red 13.
Red 11.
Red 11's is good. I'll give him that.
We'll get to that.
That is good.
We'll get to that. It is a good one. Better than Yuffie's.
Yeah, Yuffie's is awful.
Infamous Mr. Coates tells you that you've got to win this Chocobo race to make your way out of the hellhole that is the Coral Prison, and introduces you to Esther, who Is she in the prison?
Good question.
She just appears. She's down there. Maybe she has access to the prison and the upper world.
Is there an elevator operating down there? Don't they say there's only room for one person or something?
So you know how you can't walk on the shifting sands?
Yes.
I'm assuming that the shifting sands is something to do, like, because you've been dropped out of this hole that's in the gold saucer. I assume you're in the shifting sands in the coral prison.
I get the feeling that the immediate area around the base of the saucer isn't the shifting sands, it's just around it. So, like, you can't leave your little area because that's where the shifting sands are.
But is that
Otherwise, how
where
are
the
those
prison
houses
is?
There? Pardon?
Is that where the prison is then? Where's the prison?
That is the prison, man.
Yeah.
It might just be a nickname. It's not a real prison, it's just you can't escape.
Yeah.
Camp Greenlake.
I mean, you gotta lay off trying to work out what this prison is. And, there's way more things you can question in this than the shifting sands prison. Like, the shifting sands can't be that bad if a buggy can get across them.
Well, speaking of which, when you win the Chocobo race, Io seems to have done a full 180 on you and gives you a buggy instead of dropping you down a hole into a prison.
Well, he likes the way you ride those birds.
And he's still wearing just undies. And this is where you head to. I don't think you have to, but it's on the way to Cosmo Canyon, and you can go to Gongaga.
I went to Gongaga.
Did you go to Gongaga, Simon?
Yeah, I definitely went to Gongaga.
Before you get into the shitty village that is Gongaga,
quaint little village.
you bump into Reno and Rude. It was
on that path.
Yeah, and they're discussing the aesthetics of the females in the story. So he goes, "Hey, Rude, who do you like?" Rude says, "Tifa. Eleanor likes Sung. Eleanor likes Sung. Sung likes Eris." So there's obviously the Turks are human after all. I'm not sure why they're leaving out Scarlet, who we see in the next scene.
Scarlet is, I think she's just obviously out of their league. Like, she's quite a higher upper in the Shinra hierarchy. She's part of that Shinra round table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's right up there.
Yeah, she's
very sure of it. Very sure of herself.
Yeah.
Eleanor comes up behind Cloud when Cloud is feigning like he doesn't know what they're talking about. And she's like, "They're stupid. Sung is different." And I don't think Sung has any interest in Eleanor whatsoever by any stretch of the imagination.
If you think I paid attention to any of these Turk conversations about women, then I was just like clicking as fast as I possibly could to move through the game.
I whip them.
They're important for one reason.
When you get to the village, this is where there's. I was just skipping through really, and happened upon a family or a couple, and there's a mention of Zach Fair.
Had that written down.
It turns out that these are his parents. I don't think it has any bearing on the game whatsoever, as far as I'm aware, apart from that now that Zach Fair's parents live in Gongaga.
I mean, at this point, this is the first mention of Zach, right?
Yeah, Zach Fair is at this point just like I was like, oh, that's a weird thing to just mention, and then you think, oh, this is gonna be a big deal later on.
Oh, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal later on. I was like, who are these? Who are these two?
I don't remember having this interaction the first time I played. Like, I might have and just glossed over it. I have no idea.
But there aren't many other people that you just random people you talk to in houses who mention a character by name as well, which made me think, oh, this will come into play later on.
So I think at this point I realized why I had struggled to understand the plot prior to playing it this time. Because a lot of places you go, it's like when you talk to someone, it says you can buy, or it says hear a story. And I never want to hear the story from the random villager. So I just skip over and I just click buy, and they might have a keen nugget that gives me a little bit more insight. But I just would, and often I would hammer through what they were saying as well, just clicking circle, getting through as fast as I could.
Part of my OCD is that if someone says hear a story, I have to read it. And then quite often I might skip through it quite quickly. But I feel like if I don't click every option, I might miss something. Like an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Or yeah.
I always listen to the stories too.
Yeah. But quite often I don't take them in because I'm like, this is boring or this seems irrelevant. But retrospectively,
agree.
A hear a story is usually relevant.
So you're going for the perfect game then, Bob?
Yeah, man. I can't.
300.
I can't help it.
We head on to Cosmo Canyon, home of Red 11, which seems to have wind turbines, very advanced. Seems like they've harnessed wind power.
Seems like a really earthy place.
Oh, yeah.
You were introduced to the name Nanaki.
Oh, there was. I got up to Cosmo Canyon, and I was playing with my friend Willie Donnelly, who is a Final Fantasy nut. My wife was there, and his wife was there, and we all had different ideas on the pronunciation of Nanaki.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he said Nanaki.
I always thought the second syllable was Naki. I thought the second syllable was the one with the, I've forgotten what the word is, but it's Nanaki. But that's I've been wrong on every single other pronunciation. So
it's presumably Japanese. Nanaki, Nanaki, Nanakai, Nanakai.
All the options.
I remember this was in that YouTube video I watched, but I've forgotten.
I think we are now introduced to my least favourite character in the game, Bugenhagen.
Oh, what a character.
What's your problem with Bugey?
Great character.
He belittles Red 11.
Does he?
He's floating.
Right.
Not the only floating character.
And he does that stupid ho 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 Santa laugh.
Great laugh. Great laugh. Great man.
I'm a fan.
Well, I'm not. And after some guff with him, you have to enter the cave of I-E-G?
Gee?
Good cave. Hard cave.
I don't know.
Is it Gee?
I think I said the cave of E.
G?
We don't know. And yeah, it's some quite difficult enemies in there.
You get a summon materia in there, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's heaps of stuff in there, and the whole way through, Bugenhagen is just floating around beside you, withholding information whilst chatting away.
Let it out, Sam.
When you get to, there's a big boss at the end, and thanks to Absolute Steve, my
Is
walkthrough.
it the spider thing? There's lots of spiders you got to fight before you get to the boss.
Yeah,
That's it. What is the spider? Is the boss a spider as well? Or is it something else?
I don't think the boss is a spider, but the spiders have to walk through cobwebs, and each time you walk through a cobweb, it's a big spider, and they're pretty strong. Those spiders.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can't remember what the boss is, but it's an undead enemy. So Absolute Steve, my walkthrough man, just told me to throw an X potion at it, and it will die.
Oh.
Sure, I never did that.
No, I grinded it.
Yeah, me too.
To be fair, at this point, I'm quite OP because I did a lot of grinding already.
What's OP?
Sure.
Overpowered.
Overpowered. Okay. Didn't know what that meant when you said it the other day. This is it, and post this. I think this is the reason I hate Bugenhagen the most, because Red 11 finds out the truth about his father. You remember what the truth about his father was?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, I mean that, but that's the most show don't tell. You learn that as an English teacher.
That's good stuff.
You know, show don't tell, because showing what he went through has the most impact on you. Love it, love it. Another master stroke from Bugenhagen.
Yeah, when his father cries down on him in that scene, I'm crying too. I'm there for Red.
Absolute scenes.
So I don't understand why Red's mother and grandfather would rather Red thinks his dad is a deserting sack of shit or a war hero.
Nah, doesn't Bugenhagen say at some point, is like, what? Is that what you think of your father? Like, he didn't know that he thought that.
Oh, I thought the whole time he was in on the ruse with Red's, but also why would Red's mother?
Yeah.
Because he obviously thinks that his dad is a deserting sack of shit.
Maybe his mother thought that. Maybe she didn't know that he made that sacrifice.
Bugenhagen lied to her, obviously.
Like, we all know you've got it in for Bugenhagen. Bugenhagen? Whatever his name is.
Give me a break with the Bugenhagen hate.
So we are still on the pursuit of Sephiroth. Shall we make it to Nibelheim, or shall we leave that for next time?
We probably leave it till next time.
I think that'd be good, because then we can open up with our next Nibelheim flashback.
Yeah. One flashback is enough for a podcast for me.
And that can we have to revisit them halfway through most pods anyway when we confuse ourselves.
So I think next time we'll be looking at Nibelheim, which I think is quite an important part of the story.
Big time.
And we'll move into the huge materia section of the game with a very
pick up our last two characters.
Yes, there's obviously one very, very important part coming up, just closely following Nibelheim, which I'm very excited to talk about. Well, sad but excited.
Oh yeah.
So until next time, thanks for listening.
Peace.
Peace out.